MSTY YieldMax's MSTR Option Income Strategy ETF has been providing insane returns to investors over the last year, where MSTY is up over 113%, yes, over 100% if you factor in stuff like the monthly dividends and even the share price appreciation as well. This ETF is also heavily beating the S&P 500 by a very wide margin as well, which is absolutely insane. Yes, MSTY or MSTY is legit one of the best ETFs by YieldMax that offers high monthly income, as well as covered calls on MicroStrategy, which is now just strategy, and as well as Bitcoin exposure as well. MSTY is basically the king, yes, the king of all the YieldMax ETFs, all in my opinion. This ETF has provided one of the highest returns to investors out of all the popular ETFs that YieldMax has to offer. So in this video, I'm going to answer the biggest question on all your guys' minds, which is what is MSTY or MSTY's price prediction for 2025 and even beyond that. Now, I'll also provide a full and complete breakdown of MSTY ETF for investors if you are newer to this fund. It's a very complex strategy. It's very interesting for investors, and I'll give you a full and complete breakdown of this ETF. So without further ado, let's get started. I'll be using two sources from investing websites like TipRanks as well as investing.com, which can provide the most accurate prediction for MSTY's price target, and they're like a few $100 for the software, so you're welcome. Now on the downside, yes, we are going to be using hundreds of dollars of software to get the price prediction of MSTY, but it comes with some downsides as well. Basically, MSTY is a ETF that has synthetics that basically replicates the price movement of MSTR or just MicroStrategy, which is now named just strategy. So basically, if Bitcoin goes up, MicroStrategy will also go up as well, or MSTR, and then MSTY will also go up as well since it's based off of MicroStrategy and it sells covered calls on MicroStrategy. So it's a very complex fund, and overall it's very complex. And when I'm going to be making the price prediction, these websites can't replicate or can't accurately predict the price target of MSTY or MSTY because it's a very complex fund, and the synthetics also are replicated on the price movement of MSTR. Now, my own solution is that I'm going to use the price prediction that these websites have for MSTR, and whatever that is, I'm going to basically predict the price movement of MSTY based on the covered calls, since a covered call limits your upside in the cap. So basically, long story short, I'm going to be taking MSTR's price prediction for the next 12 months, and then I'm going to be using some of my own math and then price predicting the price movement, hopefully for the next 12 months, of MSTY or MSTY. On TipRanks, based on 13 Wall Street analysts, yes, Wall Street analysts offering 12-month price targets for strategy or MSTR. Now remember that MSTR is the underlying stock that MSTY tracks, so keep that in mind as well. With that, MSTR has an average price target for the next 12 months of exactly $524.92 with a high forecast of exactly $650. Its low forecast is exactly $175, where the average price target for MSTR represents a 31.3% upside for investors. I also should have mentioned that we're going to be using the average price target because we don't want to be so bullish nor so bearish, so the average price target is what we're going to use for MSTR. Wall Street analysts on TipRanks, and even on this website I'll be using next called investing.com, also rate MSTR a strong buy for investors, where I'm assuming a ton of these analysts are very, very bullish on Bitcoin, since if Bitcoin goes up, MSTR will go up, and then MSTY will also go up and pay some great dividends as well. Just to be sure, I'm also going to use investing.com, which is also another investing website, which costs a lot of money, but long story short, I need to double check my price targets with this website to have two different price targets to see if they're going to be accurate for our MSTR price prediction, so we can then price predict MSTY more accurately. So let's get started with that one right now. Moving on, we have investing.com, and on this website it says that MSTR has an average price target of exactly $503.29 or a 32.64% upside in the next 12 months. With that in mind, the average of these two price targets from both of these websites for MSTR is exactly $527.60 or a 31.96% upside. And yes, I'll be basing MSTY's or MSTY's price target off of this number that we have for MSTR for its average price target, which I'm going to be using now for MSTY. Okay, now that we have the average price target for MSTR based on those two websites, now I'm going to basically predict the upside potential of MSTY given we have NAV erosion, and we also are going to factor in dividends and the fact that, yes, covered calls, when you sell them on a underlying stock like MicroStrategy or just strategy, you're also limiting your upside and capping your upside as well. So let's see if we can do that right now. If we take a look at the total returns factoring in dividends for MSTY versus MSTR is that MSTY participates in about 63.8% of MSTR's upside over a 1-year time frame. Of course, MSTY or MSTY cannot participate in all the upside of MSTR because we are selling those call options on MSTR to generate our high monthly income on MSTY. Okay, let's see if I did this right, but using our analysis, I'm going to assume that MSTY will participate in 63.8% of MSTR's upside, and if that continues to be the case, then MSTY will have an upside return of 20.39%, or the ETF price target will be exactly $27.56 for investors over the next 12 months for MSTY. Please know this, MSTY is based off of MicroStrategy or just strategy, which is basically based off of Bitcoin as a Bitcoin proxy. So if Bitcoin goes up, MSTR will go up, or MicroStrategy or strategy. And then if that goes up, MSTY will go up and generate more dividends and also upside potential. So the flip could also happen. So if Bitcoin goes down, MSTR will go down, MSTY will go down and have less dividends. So please keep that in mind. This is a very high risk investment. But yes, $27.56 is my average price target for MSTY over the next 12 months through the end of this year and even mid next year. And also know that the dividends that MSTY gives to investors on a monthly basis will also drop your NAV. That's why the price target doesn't seem to be so dramatic, because the dividends that it will pay out to investors, it will also drop the NAV. So that's why the price target isn't too high, but it's not too low. But yes, that's the average price target, all in my opinion. In simple terms, MSTY or MSTY is a YieldMax ETF that basically seeks to provide investors high monthly income based off of MicroStrategy using covered calls, and it also gives investors a current distribution rate of over 100% to investors on a monthly, or should I say a yearly basis in that case. A 100%, yes, an over 100% distribution rate is too good to be true, and it very well is. Reason being is because it says current distribution rate, which isn't a dividend rate or a dividend yield. That's because MSTY also gives away return of capital, which will be taken out of your NAV. Now that's why it says current distribution rate instead of dividend yield, because it's all not dividends. It's also could be some of your own money, but it's also used for tax purposes, which we can get into a whole rabbit hole. But yes, keep that in mind. It's not all dividends. So who should invest in MSTY, and what's MSTY's goals? Well, that's a great question. On YieldMax's website, it says that YieldMax MSTR Option Income Strategy ETF is an actively managed fund that seeks to provide or generate monthly income by selling or writing call options on MSTR, like we said before. MSTY pursues a strategy that aims to provide or harvest compelling yields while retaining cap participation in the price gains of MSTR. Basically, when you sell a covered call, you're giving up your upside because someone else participates in that upside potential, and in return, you get that high, juicy, and sweet monthly income in YieldMax, or should I say MSTY. The fund's primary investment objective is to seek current income. The fund's secondary investment objective is to basically provide share price movements in terms of exposure to MSTR for investors. And yes, it also says that MSTY is subject to a limit on a potential investment gain on MSTR because of our covered calls, like we said before. So in dummy terms, if you are very bullish on Bitcoin, which means that you're also bullish on MicroStrategy, you will also be bullish on MSTY. And if you want monthly income right now, so you want monthly income and you're bullish on Bitcoin, then yes, MSTY can be a great option for you as an investor, and it also provides a better risk to reward ratio because instead of investing in Bitcoin or MicroStrategy, where you have no dividends, you can take in dividends by those covered calls or the premiums as an investor in MSTY. MSTY's expense ratio is 0.99%, which is honestly super high, but that's okay because this is a very complex strategy with complex derivatives and the synthetics, and of course that high monthly income kind of offsets that high expense ratio. Seeking Alpha gives MSTY an A+ grade for dividends since the distribution rate is so high at over 100%, and a B- grade for momentum since Bitcoin is been on a tear lately, so that's why it's been having a good share price movement for MSTY in terms of its total returns to investors. Also, please know that MSTY thrives off of volatility. So if Bitcoin goes up like this, up and up and up and up and up, then MSTR will go up as well, and then MSTY will go up as well for total returns because that volatility to the upside will provide more, or should I say higher monthly dividends or monthly income, and of course you get exposure to the price movement of MSTR, which will most likely go up, and then MSTY will go up as well because of that total return potential from dividends and of course share price appreciation as well. So please keep that in mind for investors. In terms of the dividend history, an ETF like MSTY will have very volatile dividend payments to investors on a monthly basis. Reason why? Well, you guessed it, because MSTY thrives off of volatility. So more volatility, more payments, less volatility, less income. So it will be very volatile income payments to investors. You might be wondering, how do we get the best total returns on MSTY because it's a very complex strategy and I want to get the best returns possible in MSTY? Well, I have the answer for you right here. The best way to invest in MSTY besides dollar cost averaging or DCAing is to always reinvest your dividends. Yes, first of all, DCA, and always reinvest your dividends. Reason why? Well, that's a great question because the NAV will naturally erode. So if you want to get the best returns possible, you have to always reinvest your dividends to lower your share price average and to get more shares of MSTY, as over time, hopefully, as Bitcoin rises and MSTR rises, you will get a better total return possible than just taking the dividends and spending it and not reinvesting your dividends. So yes, always reinvest your dividends, and of course, never take margin. Don't use margin on this complex strategy. Just use your own money and not borrowed money from someone else. Don't yell at me, but my final verdict is that MSTY is great for investors if you have a higher risk tolerance and you want monthly income in your portfolio right now versus upside potential in your underlying stock, which is MSTR. Yes, I said it. This is a very higher risk investment because you're also investing in a single stock, just one stock and not an index. And also you're investing in basically Bitcoin exposure from MSTR. And yes, crypto is a very volatile and high risk asset. And that's why I think MSTY is a higher risk investment for investors who want monthly income, but higher risk could be okay if you are okay with that investment for MSTY. In my opinion, you could get a better risk to reward ratio by investing in MSTY versus Bitcoin or MSTR because you have that monthly income. And I would also recommend you have other investments, not just only MSTY, for diversification in your portfolio, than only going all in on MSTY. And no, I can't predict the dividends for MSTY because it's so volatile. So I'm sorry about that. I can't predict the dividends of MSTY in the future, but I think they'll be just fine. If you guys like this video, please give it a like because this cute puppy did. Now, between me and you guys, I'm going to be interviewing soon, I think, the fund manager of YieldMax. So I will be talking to him about MSTY and other YieldMax funds. So comment down below any questions you have for him, and I will make sure to include it in my questions for the interview. I love you guys so much. Crush in the stock market and take it easy. Peace.